So um, I want you to try something for me really quickly. Just close your eyes for a second.
Well, unless you're driving.
Right. Yeah, please do not do that if you are behind the wheel right now. But if you're safe to do so, close your eyes and just picture a map, like
Hmm.
just a standard everyday map of a country.
Like the one from elementary school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's that pull-down map from your third-grade classroom that always got stuck.
Oh, right.
Or maybe it's just the glowing interface of Google Maps on your phone.
Yeah.
The thing is, to 99% of us, that map is just a boring utilitarian object.
It's a tool.
Yeah, it's a tool. It tells you how to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And it feels completely objective, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it feels like raw data. It's just lines and colors on a page or a dream.
Yeah, just data. But what if I told you that for some people, looking at a specific map doesn't just provide direction, it actually provokes real visceral anger.
Yeah, that's a heavy way to start, but you really aren't exaggerating. We are looking at a really fascinating and frankly fiery source today. Hmm.
It's an article titled "The Cardinal Truth: Challenging the Cartography of Nigeria." And the author here isn't just nitpicking a drawing error or a typo.
No.
They are furious.
Yeah, the language here really stood out to me immediately when I was reading it. The author says that looking at the current map of Nigeria, and I'm quoting here, troubles my sensibility.
Wow.
They explicitly say I get angry looking at how foolish it looks.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've gotten annoyed at my GPS for taking me to the wrong entrance of a mall before, but I don't think I've ever felt my sensibility troubled by the actual shape of a country.
Well, it speaks to how deeply identity is tied to territory, right?
Yeah.
We have to understand the core of this anger to really get into this deep dive.
Right.
Because the central argument in this source is that the map of Nigeria, as it's currently drawn and accepted globally, is a lie.
Yeah.
The author literally calls it a political gerrymander.
Now, usually when we hear gerrymander, we're talking about voting districts.
Right.
Like politicians drawing squiggly lines to steal an election.
But this author is talking about the physical shape of the nation itself on the map.
Exactly. The claim is really about territorial integrity. The author is arguing that the map has been manipulated to stretch the northern region of the country,
Okay.
making it visually occupy space that should, at least geographically speaking, according to the author, belong to the south.
So basically the accusation is that map makers have distorted physical reality
Yeah,
to make the North appear larger and therefore, I guess, more dominant than it actually is.
that is exactly the claim.
That's a massive accusation. You're essentially saying the official map is propaganda.
And the author really doesn't stop there. They seem incredibly frustrated with the academic community as a whole. They accuse geographers and so-called cartographic professors of essentially being cowards.
Just looking the other way.
Yeah, the text suggests these academics are either benefiting from the government or they're just too afraid to offend the powers that be to point out that the map is wrong.
So it's like a conspiracy of silence.
In the author's eyes, yes, absolutely. It's not just a mistake. It is a deliberate distortion that everyone is willfully ignoring.
Okay, so this is our launch pad for today. We have a source claiming a national map is a political fiction. But this deep dive isn't just about Nigerian politics, is it?
No, absolutely not. We are going to use this specific grievance to look at the much bigger picture. Because this article forces us to ask a really uncomfortable question.
Which is?
How do we actually know any map is right? We need to explore the cartography of truth.
I like that. The cartography of truth.
Right, like which lines on a map are objective scientific facts given to us by the planet itself, and which lines are just human opinions disguised as facts.
I love that setup. We're going from a heated political complaint to the fundamental laws of navigation.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just strip it all away. Let's go back to basics. If we want to judge if a map is true, we really have to understand the tools we use to draw it in the first place.
We absolutely have to start with the cardinal directions.
North, south, east, west. The classic compass rose.
Did you have a mnemonic for this growing up? I feel like everyone has a different one.
Oh, totally. Never eat soggy waffles.
Ah, that's the classic one. Clockwise from the top.
It worked perfectly.
Yeah.
But okay, on a technical level, these aren't just vague ideas, right? They're
Yeah.
mathematically precise. We treat them like absolute laws of nature.
They are precise, yes. If you look at the azimuth, which is the technical term for the angular measurement in a spherical coordinate system, north is 0 degrees or 360.
Right.
East is exactly 90 degrees. South is 180. West is 270. It is a perfect circle.
And you can slice that circle up infinitely. You've got northeast, southwest.
Right, the intercardinal points, and you can even go deeper to secondary intercardinal points like west-northwest. Sounds like a lot of technobabble, but it's really just breaking the pie into smaller slices for better accuracy.
But here is where I get stuck when I think about our source. The Nigerian author is angry about the north encroaching on the south.
Mm-hmm.
We just said north is 0 degrees. It's math. How can you argue with math?
Because while the direction itself is math, the application of it is entirely human.
Okay.
This is the first big insight from our research pile today. Cardinal directions are this really strange mix of hard science and human feeling.
Walk me through the science part first. Why is east objective?
While the planet is spinning, that is a non-negotiable fact, the Earth rotates on an axis. Because of that rotation, the sun appears to rise in one direction and set in another.
Right.
We call that sunrise direction east. That isn't a political decision. The sun really doesn't care who the prime minister is.
Okay, so east and west are anchored by the spin of the Earth. What about north?
North is anchored by the axis of that spin. We have a physical North Pole and a South Pole. Plus, we have a magnetic field generated by the Earth's core.
So the compass.
Exactly. If you hold a compass, it aligns with that field and points north. You really can't debate the magnet.
Software, this sounds pretty bulletproof. If I'm standing in Nigeria or New York or London, north is north.
Scientifically, yes. But the source material highlights the human interpretation of that science. Think about how we use these words in actual conversation.
Okay.
If I say to you, hey, I'm going up north for the weekend, am I walking a perfect 0-degree line?
No, definitely not. You're driving to a cabin or a specific city. Or maybe you just mean you're leaving the city center.
Right. North becomes a place, it becomes a region or an identity. In the U.S., the South isn't just a compass direction, it's a whole culture, an accent, a history.
Oh, I see. And in the UK, the north-south divide is heavily about economics.
I see where you're going. The Nigerian author isn't arguing that the literal compass doesn't work.
Right.
They're arguing that the boundary of what counts as the North has been manipulated.
Precisely. Perception changes based on where the observer is standing. Scientifically, north is just a vector. But politically, the north is a power base.
Wow, yeah.
When those two things clash, the cold, hard science of direction and the hot, messy human perception of territory, you get exactly the kind of anger we see in this article.
It's cartography meeting human bias. The map claims to be showing us the science, like here is the North, but it might actually be showing us the politics, like here is who is in charge.
And that is the perfect transition to the next layer of the map. Because to draw these boundaries, we don't just use a compass, we use a grid.
Latitude and longitude.
The invisible net wrapped around the globe. I remember struggling with this a bit in school. Latitude is the ladder, right? The rungs going up and down.
That is a great way to remember it. Latitude measures distance north or south. The lines run side to side parallel to each other. That's why we literally call them parallels. They range from 0 degrees to 90 degrees.
And the big one, the belt of the Earth, is the equator.
The equator. Now, for the listener, if you want a great takeaway to impress people at a dinner party, here it is. The equator is the absolute anchor of objectivity.
Define objective here. Because we did just say north can be a feeling.
The equator is physically real. It is not just a drawing on a piece of paper. It is defined by the laws of physics.
How so?
It is the exact midpoint between the North and South poles. If human beings vanished tomorrow, the equator would still be there.
So it's not just an arbitrary line, it's a distinct physical zone.
Absolutely. For one thing, it's the widest part of the Earth.
Wait, really?
Yeah, because the Earth spins at about 1,000 miles per hour. Centrifugal force actually causes the middle of the planet to bulge out. It's called the equatorial bulge.
Wait, so the Earth isn't a perfect sphere?
No, it's an oblate spheroid. It's slightly squashed at the top and fat in the middle. The diameter at the equator is actually about 43 kilometers wider than the diameter from pole to pole.
Okay, I won't tell the flat earthers if you don't.
Harbordale. But this bulge has real measurable effects. Gravity is actually slightly weaker at the equator.
Because you're further away from the center of the Earth.
Exactly. You are further from the Earth's center of mass. So if you weigh yourself in Brazil on the equator, you actually weigh marginally less than you do if you weigh yourself in Norway.
That is wild. So I don't need a diet. I just need a vacation to Ecuador.
Basically, yes. And it's also why we launch rockets from there.
Oh, to save fuel.
Yeah, the Earth's rotation gives the rocket a free speed boost, and the slightly lower gravity helps too. It is a 40,000-kilometer line that passes through 13 different countries: Ecuador, Kenya, Indonesia.
And the climate there is super distinct too, right?
Very. It gets a consistent 12 hours of light and 12 hours of dark every single day.
Okay, so bringing this all back to our mission about truth, you cannot gerrymander the equator.
No, you can't negotiate it. You cannot bribe a physicist to move the equator 50 miles north to help you win an election. Nature drew that line.
So if the Nigerian author is looking for absolute truth, the equator is the gold standard, but maps are a grid. You need the other lines, the ones that run up and down.
Right. Longitude, the meridians, and this, my friend, is the big twist. This is where the story completely changes.
Because there is no East Pole or West Pole.
Right.
Yeah, the Earth is spinning sideways.
Exactly. There is no physical beginning or end to the spin. Any line connecting the North and South Pole is exactly the same length. Any single one of those lines could theoretically be the starting line, the 0 degree.
But we do have a starting line. We call it the prime meridian, 0 degrees longitude. Now looking at my notes here, it goes right through Greenwich, England.
It does indeed.
Why? Is gravity different in Greenwich? Is the magnetic field special there?
Not even a little bit. If the equator is nature, the prime meridian is a committee meeting.
A committee meeting.
Specifically, the International Meridian Conference of 1884.
1884. So we're talking the Victorian era.
Well,
top hats and tails.
yes. And before this conference, the world was an absolute navigational nightmare.
How bad was it?
Almost every major country used their own prime meridian. The French measured 0 degrees from Paris. The Americans measured it from Washington, D.C. The Russians had their own.
Oh, wow. So if you were a captain sailing a ship and you switched from a French map to a British map, your coordinates would be completely different.
Yes, it was incredibly dangerous and chaotic. So 25 nations gathered in Washington, D.C. to pick one standard for the entire world. And they chose Greenwich.
Let me guess. The French weren't happy?
They were furious. They actually abstained from the final vote. But the argument for Greenwich wasn't scientific at all. It was commercial.
Oh, follow the money.
Always. At the time, Great Britain was the undisputed superpower of the seas. Something like 72% of the world's shipping tonnage was already using charts based on Greenwich.
So it was just the path of least resistance.
Pure pragmatism. The delegates basically looked around and said, look, most of us are already using the British maps anyway. Let's just make it official so we can all go home.
That is genuinely mind-blowing. The line that divides the eastern and western hemispheres, the line that defines time zones for the entire planet, is just there because some guys in 1884 said, it's convenient.
It is the absolute definition of arbitrary. But there is a nuance here we really need to dig into. There's a concept in cartography called datum.
Datum. Sounds very technical. Break that down for me.
Even though the choice of Greenwich was entirely subjective and political, the application of it has become objective over time.
Okay.
Once the world agreed, okay, this is the line, we built systems around it that are incredibly precise.
Systems like modern GPS.
Exactly. But here is a fun fact that might completely mess with your head.
Bring it on.
If you go to Greenwich Park in London today, there is a brass strip set into the ground marking the prime meridian. Tourists go there all the time to stand on it.
Right. 1 foot in the east, 1 foot in the west.
Yeah.
You take a selfie.
Sure, the center of the world. Except it isn't anymore.
Wait, what do you mean?
If you open the GPS on your phone while standing on that historical brass line,
Yeah.
it will actually say you are about 102 meters off.
Did the ground move?
No, our math just got better.
Yeah.
The original line in 1884 was determined by a guy looking through a telescope at the stars.
Okay.
But modern GPS uses a highly complex mathematical model of the Earth. It's called WGS-84, and it focuses on the center of the Earth's mass, gravity. Because local gravity in London is actually a bit weird due to the terrain, the true 0 degree line had to shift about 100 meters east to properly fit the global mathematical model.
That is so ironic. We took a completely subjective decision. Let's put the line in London for British shipping. And then science came along and said, okay, but if we want to be truly objective, we have to move your subjective line 100 meters to the right.
Exactly. It is a standardized truth that was born entirely from a subjective decision.
This really helps me frame the Nigerian author's anger, though.
Yeah, let's bring it back to that.
We have the equator, which is nature's truth. We have the prime meridian, which is a functional truth based on human agreement. And then we have the map of Nigeria, which the author claims is just a lie.
The author is essentially arguing that the map of Nigeria is a prime meridian situation. It's a human drawing, but one that was drawn with bad intent.
Right, not for global convenience like Greenwich, but to artificially inflate the power of the North.
Yes. To drive this point home, I want to bring in one more concept from the source material. It's a biological analogy that I thought was incredibly helpful. the sagittal plane.
Yes, I'm so glad you caught that too. The source uses this to compare how we divide three-dimensional objects.
So for those of us who skipped Anatomy 101, the sagittal plane divides the body into left and right.
Okay, and there is something called the mid-sagittal plane right that splits the body into exactly equal halves. It basically runs right down your spine.
Nature gives you that line. You have a spine. It's in the exact middle.
Correct.
But then there are parasagittal planes. These are parallel to the middle, but they are off-center. They divide the body into unequal parts. So maybe 70% on the left and 30% on the right.
Oh, I see the parallel here. The equator is mid-sagittal. It's the true middle.
Yes.
And the Nigerian author is saying the map makers drew a parasagittal line, an off-center line, but they are telling everyone it's the middle.
Exactly. They are passing off a parasagittal line as a mid-sagittal one. And that is exactly why the author uses the term political gerrymander.
Because gerrymandering is literally the act of drawing lines to create an unfair advantage.
Right. If the map is indeed flawed in the way the author claims, it falls squarely into that category of subjective human manipulation.
So it's not an objective reality like the equator. It is a power play, similar to how Britain established the prime meridian, but with much more localized and, frankly, contentious consequences.
And that is the absolute crux of it. The author explicitly wonders why no sensible person ever challenged it. They accuse the academic world of fearing the power that be, because ultimately, if you control the map, you control the perception of the territory.
If the map says the North is huge, the North feels powerful.
It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy drawn in ink.
And this happens everywhere, doesn't it? Not just in Nigeria. Think about the Mercator projection. That's the standard world map we all use every day.
Oh, absolutely. The Mercator projection notoriously makes Europe and North America look massive while shrinking Africa and South America.
Right. Greenland looks like it's the size of Africa on those maps, but in reality, Africa is, what, 14 times bigger?
Something like that, yeah. That is a mathematical distortion for the sake of making a flat map, but it has a massive psychological effect.
It centers the West as the dominant landmass.
Every map is a compromise between reality and representation. And usually the people drawing the map choose the representation that flatters them the most.
It's a really heavy realization. We started this deep dive looking at a very specific grievance. A Nigerian author furious that the North looks too big on a piece of paper.
But we've ended up questioning the lines on the globe itself.
Yeah, we navigated from that specific emotion to the universal laws. We learned that North, South, East, and West are grounded in astronomy, the stars and the sun. We learned the equator is grounded in physics, the spin of the planet.
But the prime meridian and the borders of our countries?
Those are grounded in history, agreement, and sometimes just pure conflict.
It definitely changes how you look at Google Maps. I usually just blindly follow the blue line. I rarely stop to think about who actually drew the gray lines underneath it.
And that is the exact trap we all fall into.
Oh.
We accept the map as absolute truth because it looks so scientific. It has grids and numbers and degrees.
But we have to remember that a human being put those lines there.
So as we wrap up today, what is the big takeaway for you, the listener? We've covered a lot of ground today, literally.
I think the most provocative thought to leave you with is this. We carry these maps in our pockets every single day. We trust them to be perfectly objective. But if the prime meridian is just a line we agreed on in a conference room in 1884 to help British shipping,
Right.
and if a national map can be challenged as a political fiction designed to keep a specific region in power, it really begs the question.
What's the question?
How many other objective lines in your life are actually just subjective agreements?
Yeah. That is really something to chew on. Are the boundaries in our lives, whether they are national borders, time zones, social rules, or even the neighborhoods we think are safe or unsafe, actually real?
Or did we just all agree not to question them?
And perhaps more importantly, who benefits from us not questioning them?
Who benefits indeed? Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.